Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome to the Chelsea Juventus preview with myself and George, as always. And we'll also be picking our predicted 11. So our starting line that we'd like to see, not necessarily what we think Thomas Tuchel will choose. As always, make sure you smash a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And George, this match tomorrow against Juventus is pretty much a shootout for potentially top spot. If I just bring the group up now, we're obviously 3 points behind Juventus, having lost against them in Turin. But I mean, the group obviously isn't done on goal difference. It's done on the head-to-head. So as you can see here, we're 3 points behind and 2 worse goal difference. If we were going to overtake Juve, we need to beat them by 2 goals tomorrow. I mean, first of all, mate, how important to you is it that we top the group? Because I'm of the opinion that at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters that much, because you can get really lucky topping the group and get someone not so good, but you could also come, second and get someone not so good. So it's kind of goes in both ways. And for me, at the end of the day, you've got to play everyone anyway if you want to win. So I don't think it really matters whether you play them in the last 16 or the quarterfinals or whatever it is. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the importance of topping the group?
Well, the objective is to try and win all your games in every competition. Obviously, it's not possible, but I think when you've got a group like that, the main objective is to qualify. So, Juventus and Chelsea are the 2 expected teams to go through, and that's what's going to happen. And like you said, mate, I think really it swings around and roundabouts. Like that, you have to beat the best to go on and win the tournament. Anyway, sometimes you manage to avoid the best teams, and whatever card we're dealt with, I'm sure we're more than capable of taking on that challenge. So I used to be more concerned about it than I was before, but since they've brought in the rules about English teams not facing each other in groups and all the rest of it, it's kind of just get through the qualification, see what you're dealt with, and it's going to be hard to beat them by two goals or more, I think, because they can set up knowing that they're in front, that they don't have to win this game. But I personally don't think it matters. I think the result or the performance is more important than the general, because we've qualified. So
yeah, I mean, looking at that table there, we just need a point tomorrow night against Juventus to qualify for the last 16. So that would then make the Zenit game not irrelevant, but there's nothing riding on it other than a potential top spot. So, I mean, in fairness, I'll probably take the draw tomorrow night if I was offered it now. But yeah, we're going to qualify from this group, so that's not really any problem at all. But George, how do you see this game going tomorrow? Obviously, Juventus not in great form in Serie A. I think they're 7th or 8th in the table. They're already 11 or 12 points off the pace after like 13 games, which is very unlike them. Obviously, lost Cristiano Ronaldo. They obviously did beat us in that first game. We didn't play very well, but I think we've massively improved since then. Are you expecting a difficult game tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think I am. I don't look at, when it comes to Champions League nights, I don't think it particularly matters league form. They'll be up for it under the lights at Stamford Bridge. They'll be up for the big games, and all teams are. They can raise their levels for Champions League nights. It's a separate competition. Juventus have got a very prestigious history in this competition, and I expect a difficult game, particularly with Italian sides that don't need a result. We know what to expect. Again, a low block, making it difficult, try and counter-attack when possible, frustrate Chelsea all evening. They'll try to. And again, I know I repeat myself with a lot of these occasions, but I think an early goal for Chelsea would really set the marker, because I think it just opens the game up a little bit. The longer it goes on goalless, the more chance I feel Juventus have got us under their clasp as such. So yeah, I always expect a difficult game. They've got to be respected. They're a huge European team, and they've got some world-class individuals. So I expect nothing more than a very close game.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you that an early goal is crucial, because we're presuming that Juventus is going to come and they're going to employ that low block and look to kind of play on the counter-attack through the pace of Chiesa and the likes of Dybala, etc., and possibly Morata as well to a lesser extent. So getting an early goal would kind of completely alter their game plan. So I agree with you. That is definitely important. Whether we get it or not is another question. I'm not sure if you've seen much of Thomas Tuchel's press conference today, but obviously Jorginho was just off with cramp, so he is fit and available to play if selected, obviously. Other than that, Werner's fitting in the squad again, so we'll probably see him. Lukaku, Tuchel said that he's going to get at best some minutes from the bench, so we're not going to see him from the start tomorrow. And Kai Havertz is an injury a doubt as well. Obviously, came off against Leicester, feeling something in his hamstring. He didn't train today, so maybe that was just a precaution. He'll be all right for tomorrow, but there's a chance that he may not play either. So there's definitely a few concerns in the final third of the pitch about selection-wise. But other than that, we've got a pretty clean bill of health. And Juventus, on the other hand, are missing quite a few players. Not necessarily first teamers, but there's no Danilo at fullback. There's no Bernardeschi in midfield. No Aaron Ramsey. I mean, he doesn't really play for them very much anyway. No Chiellini at the back either. And there's a couple of others missing that are kind of squad players. The likes of De Siglio as well is obviously still out. Yeah, they're missing a few players, but no one that's really going to go in their first team anyway. And De Ligt will probably come in and play at the back instead of Chiellini alongside Bonucci. So, George, Juve's still going to be a strong proposition, aren't they? Regardless of kind of the injury list they've got, and regardless of their kind of patchy league form in Serie A. So we've got to be on it, haven't we?
Yeah, of course we do. And De Ligt said in his press conference he expects the same from Chelsea. Chelsea are just as strong with Lukaku or without, so I don't think it really bothers them either. Their preparation will be the same. You've got two European giants going at it at the end of the day, and I don't take Juventus ever for granted. Always a difficult fixture. We've only played them a few times. We had quite an eventful game at the Bridge in a group stage match back in, I think it was 2013, I want to say, when Oscar scored an outrageous goal from outside the box. We've also had a bit of a run-in when Claudio Ranieri was in charge of Juventus, and we managed to knock them out in the last 16, I think, with Drogba scoring at home. So yeah, usually quite tight. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. Chelsea, like you said, are a lot better off since when we first played them. I think that was always going to be a difficult fixture anyway, going away from home. And again, I've said it before. I think not having Lukaku actually helps us in a match like this. Even though he's quite physical, I think the pace will scare Juventus more than the physicality side of it. They're very good at coping with players. I mean, they dealt with Lukaku so well in that first game where it was just back to goal. Not having Chiellini is a huge plus for us with his experience at the back. So yeah, I think if we can get them on the counter and get in behind them, they haven't got the pace to deal with it. So that's what I'm hoping. But again, in these big games, it's fine margins. But again, I expect Juventus and Chelsea to qualify anyway. So I'm not too concerned about this one.
And we see the return of obviously two former Chelsea players in Alvaro Morata and Juan Cuadrado. Cuadrado probably is going to play a right wing back, right full back, depending on what they go with system wise. And obviously Morata will probably play through the centre. George, didn't really quite work out for Morata at Stamford Bridge, but what have you made of him at Juventus? Serie A seems to suit him a lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Some places just suit players better. I mean, look at Timo Werner at RB Leipzig. Like, I think when you come to the Premier League, it's physical. But also when you play for teams like Chelsea, I think you have to deal with a low block, bit of a slower pace of game, where you've got 10 behind the ball and you're having to break them down. You haven't got that pace in behind. Like, I think the reason why Werner scored so many goals in Germany is because he was playing teams that would happily come out and try and attack, and he'd had all that space in behind. So, we've seen it before. Torres struggling at Chelsea, Shevchenko struggling at Chelsea. And again, Morata, we saw glimpses of it. Brilliant. So, I remember a couple of really good headed goals. He scored one against United, I think, which was outrageous. And he scored a really good individual one against, I think it was Stoke, where he kind of ran with the ball all the way from the halfway line. He's got serious pace, and he's a talented footballer. There's no doubt about that. But no, not Chelsea quality for me. And we've moved on since him. So he's still a threat, but I'm not too concerned. I'd be more concerned if Ronaldo was still in their team, put it that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And obviously the likes of Dybala is another threat as well. But George, I mean, the player that we admire greatly and would love to see at Chelsea. I think he's a fantastic footballer. Their main threat, no doubt, is Federico Chiesa. I mean, he scored the all important decisive goal in the reverse fixture in Turin. And yeah, he's just a phenomenal player. He had a fantastic Euros, and he's really pushed on this season. Again, Juventus' standout player, stepping into that mould as such that Ronaldo's left behind. He's now their main man. How much of a problem is he going to be tomorrow night? We've got to be really on it with marking him, etc.
Yeah, we do. We do tend to have a very good record at Stamford Bridge against big, high-profile players in terms of performance. I can't remember too many players like Ronaldo, Messi, Rooney, who have even Henry, who really had great games at Stamford Bridge. I don't know if that's just a thing that Chelsea are very good at, but do tend to keep these players very quiet. But without doubt, mate, he's phenomenal and someone that I would love at Stamford Bridge. Obviously, I think because of the luxury of talent we've got in those areas, I doubt that we'd need him or we'd be going in for him. But yeah, he's the one to watch for sure. He's got everything. I mean, I don't need to explain to people watching this about the qualities of Chiesa, but yeah, he's going to be the one to watch tomorrow. I would imagine him and Dybala are the two players that I think I rate very highly at Juventus. And yeah, as you said, quality European, talented, all-rounded player.
Yeah, I think the likes of Antonio Rudiger, and depending on what side he plays, Chilwell or James, are going to have a big job defensively to keep him quiet and make sure that he doesn't kind of slip in behind, etc. But yeah, as you said, mate, at the end of the day, we only need a point to qualify. Qualification's the most important thing. Obviously, we'd love to win this game and finish top of the group, but ultimately the aim is to qualify for the next round of the competition. And then for me, the competition then really starts after the group stage. The group stage is just about getting through, and then you start turning it up in those knockout rounds. But yeah, I mean, would you take a draw tomorrow night?
Yeah, I would take a draw. I think you obviously go out, you set your team out to win every football match, like I said. But when you think of the overall objective, which is to qualify, yeah, you take a point against Juventus. I wouldn't be disappointed if we didn't win the game. We've got to respect the fact that Juventus are a top side, and really it's come down to one poor performance away from home where we just couldn't break them down, and that's what they're so good at. So if we see the same thing again, I think there's just a lot less pressure from us because the other two teams are so weak. I mean, we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we lose this match and we have to grab something. But we've also been in that position before. Can't remember when it was now. Might have been under Di Matteo, actually, when he took over. We needed a point against Valencia, perhaps, at home, which was quite a tight affair a few years ago. So we have been in that position before. We've won the Champions League last year, so there's pretty much less pressure on the whole competition as a whole. But Tuchel's a very demanding coach. He'll demand a win tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I said I'll take a draw as well, but ultimately, I think we've more than got the quality to win. We're definitely in much better form than them. We've obviously got to give them the relevant respect, etc., not take them for granted. But I mean, given the fact, since the last game, as I mentioned, our form has remarkably improved. Juve are pretty much at the same level for me. So yeah, it should be, I don't want to say straightforward, but we should be clear favourites in this game as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, mate, I'm just going to share my screen now. We're going to get into the starting 11. So not necessarily what Thomas Tuchel's going to pick, but what we would like to see, because it's a bit more fun picking our lineup rather than trying to predict what Tuchel's going to do. So here we go. So, mate, I mean, we don't even need to discuss the goalkeeper, do we? It's obviously going to be Edouard Mendy in there. So I'll pop him in. George, make up of the back three. Do we think Thiago Silva is going to play again? 37 years of age. He's really, I mean, he obviously played full 90 against Leicester on Saturday, having had the travel back from Brazil a couple of days earlier. You've got a big game against Man United on Sunday. Yes, it would be enough time to recover, but if Silva's only going to play one of the next two games, I'd much rather he played against Man United rather than against Juventus. But I mean, what are you thinking? Would you pick him tomorrow night? Would you like to see him if you're picking the team? No, I think you're right, mate. I think Tuchel's, even though he probably won't admit it, he's probably got half an eye on the league this year. as the next objective, and therefore I think Manchester United is the priority, particularly in a game where we only need a point. And even if we lose, we're still in a good position to qualify anyway. So I think he'll rest Silva tomorrow. Then again, how many times have we been wrong on the channel about prediction lineup? So this could go awfully wrong. But if it was me, I'd be resting Silva for United on Sunday.
I mean, who would you have as the main centre back then, playing in the centre of that three? I mean, does Andreas Christensen come back in for you?
Yeah, I think Christensen's good enough to get the nod. Yeah, I put Christensen in alongside Rudiger, and I don't know who would be the other one. Maybe Azpilicueta, or you could go. I know we'll get into that, but I think Christensen should get the nod tomorrow. That's who I think will play.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think this is a game that, given the fact that we actually don't need to win this game per se, we only need a point to qualify. I think, as I mentioned, Thiago Silva is going to be much more important that he plays against Manchester United. So I'd go with Christensen. The only reason I could potentially see Thiago Silva starting is the fact that in the Champions League there is the 5 subs. So if we're like a couple of goals up or whatever, then he could be one of those that we could take off, because we haven't got the 5 substitutes in the Champions League compared to the 3 in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, this is our team. So yeah, I would personally rest him, like you agree. He's more important for Manchester United. So I'd go with Christensen in the middle. I mean, it's pretty obvious, George, that, I mean, Antonio Rudiger is going to play left centre back, isn't he?
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, he's an absolute rock. Unlike Thiago Silva.
Do you think he literally plays every game now, pretty much, for us? If he's fit, he plays. Is it as simple as that for you?
Yeah, mate. I think other than Mendy, he's probably the next one on the team sheet that's a shoe in pretty much every game. So, we don't have the problems with him like Thiago Silva with the age. So, yeah, he goes straight in.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. He's been in absolutely fantastic form since Tuchel come in. Really, I think one of the best players. We've said it many times on the channel. One of the best players in the world at the moment in terms of defenders. Probably one of the best in the league. So consistent. And what Thomas Tuchel has done to get that form out of him it's been phenomenal in terms of man management and work on the training pitch. And he really is perfect for this 3 at the back system. So yeah, I'd fully expect him to slot in there. This is where it gets slightly interesting, mate. This right centre back role. Obviously, Chalobah was fantastic last time out against Leicester. And to be honest, he's done really well whenever he's played this season, whenever he's been called upon. Do we think it's going to be him, or do we feel there could be a chance that Azpilicueta comes back into the lineup? I mean, Aspi hasn't played at right centre back since we played Zenit at home in the first game of the Champions League, and I don't think he's actually played any minutes for the club since Malmo away about 3 or 4 matches ago. So, I mean, would you think perhaps his experience could be included in the back 3 tomorrow, or do you think Chalobah deserves to play? It's a tough one to call, isn't it?
Yeah, because on that basis, from what you've just reeled off there, you'd probably suggest that Tuchel's not going to pick Azpilicueta. But I think experience-wise, I think he should play tomorrow. Whether he plays in the middle or whether he plays on the right and you give James a rest, I don't know. But I think if it was me, I'd be picking Azpilicueta just to give Christensen some protection with that experience at the back. But yeah, maybe I've got a sneaky suspicion that Chalobah may be given the nod tomorrow. I think he did enough in the game that at the weekend. And again, like you said, I would pick Azpilicueta personally, but the only reason I think Tuchel will go Chalobah is because we haven't seen Azpilicueta go in that position for quite a while. So I wouldn't say it's a risk because he's club captain. He's very experienced. He can play there, but this is just down to preference, mate. I would play Azpilicueta, but
I mean, mate, do you think that? Like I personally would go with Chalobah. I think he deserves to carry on playing, and I also feel that with the pace of the likes of Chiesa, Dybala's quite quick as well. Aspi is getting on. He's not the quickest, so I mean Chalobah's pace could be quite crucial. But then I can also understand why you might want to go with Aspi, because there's that experience factor there. Kind of been there and done it. So many times, etc., on the big stage. So you could make an argument for both, but I mean, ultimately, George, I mean, what do we think? You going Aspi or Chalobah?
I think Tuchel picked Chalobah. So
let's go Chalobah in there. Sorry, Aspi. Chalobah starts there. I mean that back three on. I mean, how does that look to you? That looks pretty solid, doesn't it? It's pretty strong. That.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I have faith in all the Chelsea back. I mean, the defense is not where I think it's difficult to pick, because I think he's quite happy with. They're very interchangeable, and I think he's very happy with anyone slotting in and coming in and doing a job. I think it's probably more in the advanced areas that it's where the question marks are answered. But obviously, again, he might play Aspie on the right-hand side. I'd expect James to play because if he's fit, he plays. And like you said, you're just typing it in now. I think Chilwell did enough, and I expect him to play as well. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if he switched those up either. It's one of those.
I mean, to be fair, mate, I think now the way that Chilwell and James have played in recent weeks, past month, etc., they are our best wing backs. And for me, as long as they're fit, they play. I think it's as simple as that. We saw obviously Marcos Alonso play in the away leg in Juventus, and quite frankly, I think he had an absolute shocker. I think he was hooked at half time. We've not seen a lot of him since. I mean, in terms of rotating the fullbacks, I think the next game really that we're looking to rotate, I don't think we want to be rotating those fullbacks until some of the easier games. I think we've got Watford at home possibly in December at some point. Might be an opportunity to switch the wing backs then. But these guys are in such great form. I mean, Reece James probably the best right wing back in the world for me on current form. Chilwell, fantastic at the moment as well. There's no reason to change it, is there, really?
Not unless he's got half an eye on Sunday afternoon and he thinks, well, if I pick up an injury, do I really want Alonso playing? And would I rather rest these players knowing that I've only got to get a point? May not even have to win the game, but it's a dangerous thing to do that. And I don't see him. He's the type of manager that always tries to play the best team possible for that game. So I would expect the two fullbacks, as you put in there, to be the two.
Yeah. It makes the most sense, doesn't it? Really, I think. And again, with the 5 subs as well, if things are going well, then we can take one or both off to give them a bit more of a rest. But in all honesty, we're playing Tuesday night. They're not playing again until Sunday afternoon. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we've got basically 4 days. 4 days to recover from a game. So I think at this level, 4 days is more than enough. So yeah, pretty straightforward on the wing backs. George, interesting in the middle of the park here. I mean, it was a little bit concerning to see Jorginho obviously going off with cramp. I think he's played a lot of football recently. I think Kovacic being out has meant that Jorginho has probably missed out on a bit of rest and rotation. And I do feel he's been overplayed in recent weeks, given the fact he played all of the Euros for Italy. He's played all the games for Italy in the international breaks as well. And he's played a lot of minutes for Chelsea. I mean, 3 options, really. I know the Sound Aguez is there, but let's be honest, Tuchel's not picking Sound Aguez to start in this game. I mean, from the 3 we've got available, mate, who are you going with? Is that midfield pivot? Jorginho, Kante? Is it Jorginho and Ruben? Or is it Ruben and Kante?
I think it's Kante and Jorginho for me.
You think the same again?
Yeah, I think the protection of the back line, I think it works quite well. Kante the runner, and Jorginho just the pace setter, making sure that he's the ball holder, moving it through transition. For me it's those 2. I think it's a solid partnership in the middle of the park to control it. I think that's where most games are won and lost, and I think he's not going to risk it by playing someone like a Loftus-Cheek from the start in a game like this. For me,
are you not a little bit concerned that Jorginho's playing a lot of football, could pick up an injury, perhaps suffering from maybe a little bit of burnout? Obviously, you saw him go off with the cramp. I mean, is that a concern to you, or do you think he just plays anyway?
Yeah, it is. It is a concern, but like you said, if he's fit, I think he plays. And then, like you said, because we're not playing till Sunday, I think he's got that chance to recover. So, and like you said, with the 5 substitutes, I think it's okay if he plays 10, and then obviously it's unfortunate, but I think you've got to play the team to win it first, and take the risk. And if he has to be pulled off and we take a precaution substitution, I think it's fine. Yeah.
I mean, out of the two, if you can only pick one, who are you picking out of Jorginho and Kante? I mean, Kante for me was fantastic against Leicester. Look back to his best, but there still is that slight concern about he's been picking up little niggles, little injuries here and there. I don't know when he last played 2 games in a row for us, but do you think he's vital for this game, or we could get away with not starting him and then play him against Man United?
I don't think anyone's vital for this game. I'm quite confident if he put even a second string team out that we could put something up against Juventus. And like I said, I don't. It's not a must-win game for us, so it'll be interesting to see how Tuchel comes to this. Because if he does go too strong and we end up picking a few knocks, and then we don't get a result against Manchester United, I mean, people will be really pissed off. And you know, we know that we want to win the league this year. You know, we haven't won it for four or so years. Tuchel hasn't won it with us. So I really do think he's going to have half an eye on Manchester United, because it is a must-win game, considering, you know, they're one of our rivals, and maybe not for the title, but, you know, they're in and around that mix. It's a big confidence booster. So I don't know. Like you said,
I mean, do you think Ruben's got any chance of starting this game, or do you think those two are just an absolute nail? Or you think Ruben's got no chance?
Not to start. Not for me. No.
No. Do you think he deserves to start?
I think unfortunately for Ruben, I think he's played well, but I think other players have just stepped up a little bit more since his kind of involvement in the team. I mean, that game against Norwich was pretty easy anyway. No disrespect, but, you know, a lot of players could have scored in that game anyway and played well. He came off the bench, has made impact in other games coming off the bench. But for me, you know, Kante was outrageous the other day.
Yeah,
and Jorginho, again, like we said on the last show, that he's almost like he does the simple things well, but when he's not playing, you understand just how much we miss him. So I think those two, for me, if they're fit, they play. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Ruben, but I mean, this is, do you know what, mate? This is kind of our lineup. So I mean, let's go. I'll tell you what, let's go with Jorginho and Ruben.
You're going to take Kante out and go Ruben,
mate? Let's just do it. I mean, it's predicted. It's sort of our lineup we'd like to see, not necessarily in the predicted lineup.
It's not my predicted 11.
Oh, mate, well, I'm going to take charge and put him in.
All right, fair enough.
Mate, this is where it gets interesting. Front three. Romelu Lukaku confirmed. I mean, not officially confirmed, but he's back in the squad. He's been training. Tuchel said in his presser today that best case scenario, Lukaku will get maybe 15, 20 minutes from the bench. Kai Havertz didn't train today and is also a doubt. I'd be unlikely perhaps to see him from the start either. Timo Werner is back fit and in the squad. Obviously, unused sub against Leicester, perhaps not fit to get minutes. I mean, George, do you think Timo Werner starts tomorrow? He's not played since Malmo at home, which is about a month or so ago. He's missed a large chunk of games. I mean, it seems odd not to have given him any minutes against Leicester, considering that game was done and dusted, if you're then going to play him from the off in this one. I mean, do you think Werner starts tomorrow?
I think he may be forced a hand, Tuchel, to play him, but I'm trying to think who would play through the middle, because I've pretty much got my two that I think will play tomorrow. If I'm going, I don't know which position you're looking at left. I suppose if it's
mate, just go with the three, mate, and just pick three, and we can just move it about.
I think one player that I will say is going to start tomorrow is a bit of a left field is Ziyech. I think he'll play tomorrow.
Mate, I agree as well. I think look, he's someone that we've been quite critical of on the channel. A lot of Chelsea fans feel that he's not delivered sort of the performances that he should have done. But I think, you know, Tuchel said he's trained really well over the international break. I think the fact that he's fallen out of the Morocco national team manager and he's not had to go on international duty and he's been able to put some work in on the training pitch with Tuchel has been very beneficial. I thought he was pretty good against Malmo away. And then I thought he was very good when he came on against Leicester. Yes, okay, you could argue that he comes on with 2-0 up. It's kind of the game's done and dusted, and it's probably a bit easier to go out and express yourself. But he still did very well. And I think the link up with Hakim Ziyech was very, not the link up with Ziyech, the link up with Pulisic was quite promising. So yeah, I agree. I think Ziyech probably will start. I'd like to see him start. He's clearly in a little bit of form. I mean, it's a bit of a surprise we're saying that, isn't it, George?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I haven't changed my mind much on him just because he puts in a few good crosses. I'm still not convinced, but I think he does deserve a start from the impact that he's made, particularly in the last game. You're only as good as your last game, as they say, and he offers something different. That left foot. Again, he's got quite a good record in the Champions League, so. I think this is a good game for him to kind of showcase. But again, it's a bit more forced at hand that he's going to play. But I do think he can offer something tomorrow. And let's just hope he sparks back into that form that we saw in pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, he was... I mean, obviously, it's a long time ago now. But
yeah,
in that Juventus away game, he was shocking. He was terrible. But I think I think his form is a bit better since then. And a lot of time has kind of passed since that. I mean, George, you're going to reveal your next two, but I mean, presuming that Hakim Ziyech is going to play, we've picked him. Does that mean that we think Mason Mount is possibly going to be on the bench?
I think if there's one player that Tuchel will take out, and it's difficult because, again, Mason is so important for what Werner was last season in the Champions League, which is the press. I mean,
the press, yeah.
Yeah, so dangerous to take him out, but on form you'd have to say that Mason Mount is probably the one that you'd have to say take this one out and give yourself time to prepare for Sunday. I would say because we're going to need him for Sunday, and he's going to be going at it. 110%. We need him for that game, I feel. So I think you sit on the bench, and again, it depends on someone else whether they're going to start their first game since probably, before Jesus Christ was about. So I would like to see Pulisic start from the off. But again,
do you feel Pulisic in that most advanced position? So like kind of the false nine, as it were?
Yeah,
do you think?
Yeah. I think so. But that's my opinion. But it would be very surprising to see that. But then again, if Havertz is fit, he plays there. If not, then I think Pulisic takes it there, yeah.
And in terms of the left-hand side, what are we thinking? Because obviously Callum Hudson-Odoi has been in great form, but he started he started the last 8 games, I think, or he's been involved in a lot of minutes in the last 8 on the bounce. We kind of take for granted that he's just gonna start. Is there a chance that perhaps he rests Callum and he goes with perhaps Mount, Pulisic, and Ziyech, or maybe even Werner, Pulisic, Ziyech? I mean, what do you reckon?
It's a really tough one, mate. The front three is always tough. I don't think he fancies Timo Werner as much as he did. So I'd be surprised if Timo takes that left spot. So therefore, you're left with Pulisic, who I still think he's very precautious about starting him in a game. Still, so I'd probably say Callum's probably the most likely to start, but I would like to see Pulisic start.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that front three there, I mean, I agree with you on Mason Mount. I don't think he'll start. I don't think he wasn't very good against Leicester. He's probably just still finding his feet a little bit after being out, obviously having that dental surgery, etc. Your first game back's always going to be a little bit rusty, so perhaps it's a bit harsh to exclude him from our lineup. Yes, we do lose a bit with the press when he doesn't play, but I mean, ultimately, Ziyech is actually quite good at the press. But I just think those others there offer a little bit more than Mason has offered currently. I think I've seen a stat that he's only scored, 3 or 4 goals in his last 26. I think a hat-trick was against Norwich. So actually, he's like, his goal scoring is not the best. I know he's not solely in the side to score goals, but when you're playing in that top end of the pitch, you do need to chip in with your fair share. So I think I'm not criticising him by any means. He's a fantastic footballer. He's been so important for us. But, I mean, mate, would you agree that he probably needs to add more goals to his game?
I think that could be a case. You can make that case for a lot of players in the Chelsea team. Luckily, because we're playing well as a team, the goals are coming from everywhere. I mean, even, look at the weekend, Rudiger popping up again. So Pulisic, even off the bench, getting a goal. So it's not like we're struggling for goals, but we don't really have that. I think that's why Lukaku's so important. But just looking at that lineup there, certainly of that 5 block in attack, I think it's dangerous, the fact that you haven't got many runners in there that are going to track back for me.
I mean, do you think there's any chance that we perhaps, like, instead of an out-and-out 3, do you think we perhaps see a 1 behind a 2. So maybe Ziyech dropping into a 10 with kind of 2 forwards of Callum and Pulisic or any other combination. Do you think it's nailed on that it's going to be a 3 like it normally is, or do you think we could see a number 10 behind a front pairing?
I don't think he's gonna change shape. But what he likes to do, particularly when it's not nailed on, he likes to swap the wingers around every 15, 20 minutes just to see if they can, stretch them a little bit and just put them under a bit of pressure. So if Callum Hudson-Odoi is not doing well against Cuadrado, who's very pacey, swap him over. Simple as that.
We saw that against Malmo, didn't we? Hudson-Odoi started down the left, Ziyech down the right. They swapped them at half time. They both combined for the goal. So, I mean, that is an option. The front three so hard to pick, mate. You could be here all day, kind of like thinking, what options work best. I mean, if Timo Werner were to start, then I'd probably play him down one of the flanks. I don't really like him through the middle. I don't think he's a number 9. I think he's better off either a right or left hand side. I do feel that if Werner was going to start this game, then he probably would have got minutes against Leicester. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Yeah, I think he's out of favour at the moment. I think there are other players. We've just listed the 3 there. It is all very dependent though on the status of Havertz, how much Lukaku is going to get time on the pitch, how the game actually unfolds. I mean, if we're desperate for a goal, if we're losing, you'd expect Lukaku to maybe come on a bit sooner than anticipated. But if we're cruising or it's pretty level pegging, then you wouldn't expect too many changes.
I mean, looking at that side, if that went out tomorrow night, how happy would you be seeing that from the off?
Well, we've picked it, so I've got to be quite happy with it, I suppose.
Just mugged me off there. Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, like,
I'm not happy with Loftus-Cheek in that hole, though.
Oh, behave, mate. That's decent. Come on. Against a team playing a low block, if he picks the ball up, he drives forwards, that physical presence in the midfield there. I think that's right, mate. I think that's quite important. But I mean, George, how do you think Pulisic is now ready to start? He's had minutes from the bench. He came through the international break against the US. He scored against Mexico. He got minutes against Mexico and Jamaica. He got minutes against Leicester and he scored and he looked sharp. Do you think he's now ready to start the game? Or do you think Tuchel's still a little bit concerned about putting him in from the off?
I'd be concerned putting him in from the off just because of the record, the history that has happened with him. And it's not a game. Sorry, mate, I'm just putting this on charge. It's a bit of live video. It's not a game where you need to take the risk. That's the thing.
I mean, at what point do you roll the dice on it, though? Because Pulisic is going to have to start some games at some point in the very near future. So, I mean, do we just go with it? Because at the end of the day, if he starts, he could get injured. And if he comes off the bench, he could get injured. So, I mean, I personally feel he's ready, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it's probably building minutes, isn't it? It's about, it's like you said, game management. So, you give him 5, you give him 10, you give him 20. And we know there's no doubt in his ability. And sometimes he's actually better from the bench when the game's slightly stretched and players are tired because he's very, very good at getting across the box. Makes lovely runs in behind on the angle. We've seen that so many times from back post to near post or vice versa, and he's tucked it away. So sometimes you've got those players like Pulisic who are very tricky, very quick off the mark, but they're almost more beneficial when a game is stretched and when players are tight than if you played them from the off.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I 100% get what you're saying. But yeah, this is our team we've picked on the screen. We'd play him from the off. I think he offers that attacking instinct, that not many of the other players offer. He has got a bit of an eye for goal. He always gets in at that near post. He makes good runs, etc. So yeah, that is our team we've gone with. So obviously gone with Mendy in goal. Back 3 of Christensen, Rudiger, Chalobah, James and Chilwell at fullbacks, Jorginho and George's choice of Loftus-Cheek in the centre there, and then Pulisic, Ziyech and Callum Hudson-Odoi making up the front 3. I mean, to be fair, it could end up being any combination. Tuchel might surprise us and Kai Havertz will end up starting. You just never know. But yeah, that's the lineup we've gone with. As always, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments below if you agree or disagree with us. And George, just before we wrap up, score prediction for tomorrow night.
Oh God, you put me on the spot now. I haven't backed us a lot, have I? So
no, man, let's call you out on that. I think you backed us to not beat Brentford, you backed us to not beat Newcastle, and you backed us to not beat Leicester. So not showing much faith in the boys.
Yeah, I'm not, and maybe I need to keep just going with not backing them so they end up winning. So 0-0.
Go for a nil. Are you going for a 0-0 shitter?
Yeah.
Fuck it, mate. Really, a 0-0 shitter? Jesus Christ.
Sorry. I know. That's
mate, that is so poor. I'm gonna, keep the optimism, keep the faith. I mean, I've backed us pretty much every game this season, I think. So, yeah. I think we'll win this game. I'm not sure if we'll win by 2 goals to put us top, but I think we've got more than enough to do it. An early goal, as you touched on at the start of the video, will be important. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. So George gone for the 0-0 draw. Again, lack of faith in the lads. Feel free to give him some shit in the comments, guys. I'm going for a 2-1 win. But just a reminder that Chelsea require 1 point to qualify for the last 16. A win by 2 clear goals would put us top of the group heading into match day 6. But yeah, guys, as always, thanks for watching. If you tuned in live, if you're watching it back, thanks as always. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Please do get involved in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It takes literally seconds, doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us out. So yeah, please make sure you do that. Smash that subscribe button, smash that like button. And let's hope for a win tomorrow night, not a 0-0 draw. And guys, we'll catch you soon.